Continue with chapter 11, Structs, ADTs. This is the third video. First video was a review of Structs in general. The second video was the baseball video dealing with arrays of Structs. And now this one is nested Structs, right? Nested Structs is like our first, as far as Structs goes, our first reusability of code, all right? Um, this is the program straight from the book, and I liked it a lot. Program 2, I wrote my own. This is this was a pretty good demonstration of how to use nested structs. So, starting into the code, I've got my first struct is just date, right? Month, day, year, and my second struct is place, address, city, state, zip. These two get nested inside a bigger struct, and I want you to see why. The date can be used for anything. It can be, in this case, it's going to be used for birth date. It can be used for hire date, termination date, date of a sale, just about anything, because a date's a date, and it's just reusability of code. You don't have to keep typing this over and over again. Same way with place. Place, okay, address, city, state, zip. This is a personal address. We're going to use it for inside of this, nested inside of another struct, but this could be the address of a customer, in this case, an employee, a manager, anybody we do business with. There's all kinds of things you can use dates and places for. And instead of recreating the code for these all the time, and putting like these 4 lines of code in every struct, you can just put a struct place in another struct. You can put date in another struct. And that's what we do here. Here we've got a struct, and we're calling it employee info. It's got a primitive in it, name, a primitive employee number. Then it has 2 structs. The date struct above, we're making a birth date, and the place struct above, we're declaring a struct of residence. All right. So if you just look at this for a second, we've got 1, 2. Then with birth date, we got 3 more items of data, and with resident, we've got 4 more. So just the reusability of code when you're dealing with nested structs, it makes it well worth your time. All right, let's run through this real quick. So I'm calling employee info, which was the main struct here, and I'm declaring an employee info called manager. First 2 lines here, I'm going to input a manager's name and a manager's employee number. And I think it's important to note how we're entering this. Manager.name, manager.employee number. That's because it's just one level. We're just doing it we're entering this straight into this struct, these 2 primitives. Things change a little bit when we start adding the nested info into the nested structs. Now enter the manager's date of birth, 2 digits. Notice how this is. This is manager.birthday.month. All right. So it's another level of information being added. There's, in comparison with this manager.employee number, birthday.month is like an extra level, right? You can nest structs as deep as you can keep track of them. If we put a struct inside of birth date, we could go manager.birthday.month.something else. But you have to keep track of how many levels you are. When you've got 1 dot, it's usually you're entering directly into a struct. When you've got 2 dots, manager.birthday.month, you're going inside of a nested struct. All right. The rest of the additions through here are the same. Manager.birthday.day, manager.birthday.year. Okay. We're entering straight into the struct within a struct. And same here with the address, city, state, zip. we're entering into the nested struct. You can tell that by the 2 dots. All right. So we're going to input all the information for one person. All right. And then we're basically going to output it to the screen. So let me do this. Oh, the manager's name, Elon Musk. Manager's employee number. With that ego, it's got to be employee number 1. Date of birth. Six 28 1971. I actually looked this up because I wanted to see how old he was. I had no idea. Okay, manager's street address. I'm gonna make up something. Bel Air, city, Los Angeles. State, California. Zip. Zip's actually Torrance. That's the only zip code I know in California. All right, here's the manager's information. Elon Musk, employee number 1, date of birth. Okay, all 3 pieces of these information, 6/28/1971, were in the date struct. Place of residence, Bel Air, Los Angeles, California, 90077. All of this information was in the struct address. So the only 2 pieces of information in this is at the base of the main struct, employee info, is Elon Musk and employee number 1. All right. Like I said, this whole program is in the book. If you're struggling with it, you can ask questions, or you can just look at the book. But I think this is pretty self-explanatory. The only thing when you first time you write a program with nested structs is entering and remembering the different levels. Like I said down here, manager.date.birthdate or .birthdate.month. That takes a little bit to get used to, because especially when you can have your entering information on 2 levels, entering primitives straight into a struct and entering primitives into a struct within a struct. Okay, and like these can be embedded, nested as deep as you want, just whatever your comfort level is keeping up with. All right. If you got any questions, let me know. We're going to keep moving on through this chapter. But I think this covers all the review. Structs, arrays of structs, and nested structs.